New York. Oh, I forgot she was from New York. Okay. Sojourner Truth feared that without the vote, women wouldn't necessarily fail to achieve equality with men, predicting if colored men get their rights and not colored women theirs, you see the colored men will be masters over the women, and it will be just as bad as it was before. So I'm gonna leave that alone because then I'm gonna turn into my Sojourner Truth voice, and I won't do all that. So moving on, I have to say that for another day. Also want to one more thing before we go into our subject. Um, this year is important for people with disabilities. Um, July 26th will mark the 30th anniversary when the Americans with Disability Act passed for people with disabilities to feel productive or feel like they're people. They don't feel like they're second class citizens. And advocates before me, grassroots advocates, help to fight for this law that we have now. So we'll share more about that as we get closer. So let's move into anything else you want to share before we move into our subject matter, Miss Vicky?
No, ma'am. Nope.
All right then. All righty then. That must listener. That must mean that I'm doing okay, because Miss Vicky will chime in and be like, "Okay."
I was just trying to cooperate so we can move on because it's 7:31.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so we got to stay on time. Thank you, Miss Vicky. So we're going to go back to talking about how domestic violence affects children. We really thought that we were going to end this 2 weeks ago, but apparently, we need to keep talking about this because there's a lot of information. So going back to our article, this is from the womenshealth.gov, relationships and safety domestic violence affects domestic violence on children. You can look it up. It's the office of womenshealth.gov. So last week we ended with the subtitle in the article, How Can I Help My Children Recover After Witnessing or Experiencing Domestic Violence? So if anyone is out there is going through it and they have children, there is hope. It's not the end of the world. Your children can recover as well as you. So you can help your children by helping them to feel safe. How can you help them feel safe? Children who witness or experience domestic violence need to feel safe. Consider whether leaving the abusive relationship might help your child feel safer. Talk to your child about the importance of healthy relationships. Number 2, talking to them about
Can
their
I
fears.
add something?
Yes, you can.
When you talk to your child, don't talk to them about around the person that's being abusive. Be creative about when you talk to them about it. And be creative in communicating that information to them that they don't go back and talk to the person that's abusing the family. Because even though the child is a victim, just like the parent is a victim as well. But just like the parent is, or the victim, the adult victim is trusting the abuser, the child will trust them to a certain extent as well, because they prefer to have good times with the abuser versus bad times. So they may try to spark up a conversation, or they may talk to them about, certain things, and they might decide to start talking to them about what you sharing with them about healthy relationships. So in the way that you communicate that to the child, you have to figure out a way where they won't go back and discuss it with the abuser. I don't know how else a better way to say that, but just you need to know the importance in that part, because you don't want them to spark up something in the abuser. The abuser will pick up on it, say, "Oh, what you doing?" And then they'll start having what they call a counter-transference, like even though you are talking about that person, but while the child is talking to them and telling them about this subject matter and how you treat people and how you're not supposed to treat people, they're going to start feeling offended because they know they feel guilty already, because they know that's what they're doing. So,
right.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Miss Vicky. Another
You're
way that you
welcome.
can help your child feel safe, or know that they can recover after experiencing or witnessing domestic violence, is talking to them about their fears. Let them know that it's not their fault, or it's not you as a parent's fault. And it's very important to learn how to listen and talk to your child about domestic violence. So that's more information. We don't have time to go into that, but that's very important. Take the time to research, pray if you pray, before you sit down and figure out how you're going to talk to your children about their fears about what they saw or experienced in domestic violence. And it also depends on their age, so be very mindful about that. Another way,
depending on their age, because if they're young enough, because the older ones are a little bit more, you don't have to go into so much creativity. They're a little bit more understanding. How am I trying to say that? You don't have to speak to them so in the elementary level. Like you can speak to them as oh my God, I'm losing my words. The point I'm trying to make is the little kids, the babies. Like you can be creative with them by reading a story to them, or you can find little games to play with them, maybe something online, a video. You can be creative. If you don't know how to express it yourself, you can come up with different vehicles like we do. Our nonprofit, we create videos. We create video shorts to help to create a dialogue for our audience when we go out to different populations and different environments. So you can use that as well. So I was just basically saying that for the little kids, but actually you can do it for the teenagers as well. But I was thinking more so the little ones, it's easier to communicate or to express certain, topics without going into grave detail. When you talk to the older kids, when you talk to the little ones, you really have to kind of like break it down. So I was trying to give you an example of ways that you can do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Vicky, for your example. And then to just add a little bit more to that, it's very important to talk to your children, no matter what age, because sometimes it is, I don't know what word to use, it's kind of put out there or assumed that, your children don't know what's going on, or just because you may think they don't see or they can't hear that everything is okay. No, that's not true. You may be in there arguing or be going through the domestic violence, but children hear when you're raising your voice. They hear the slaps or the punches or whatever, and they might come out their room because they're worried about you and they want to come protect you, or they might hide so you won't see them. So don't think that your children don't hear or don't know what's going on. They may not say anything to you, and then they bury it within them, and then it goes into a lot of stuff. You wondering why they acting out at school and talking back, whatever. Then you have to find out later, oh, it's because of this. So it's better to talk to them and not act like they don't know what's going on. Moving on, talking to them about healthy relationships. Help them learn from the start about the abusive experience by talking about what healthy relationships are and what they are not. When you do that, this will help them when they get older to know what to accept and what not to accept and what is considered healthy. You know our song? You know our song that I said is our motto or whatever, our thing? Love and respect. Teach your children, boys and girls, teach them the difference between what is healthy relationship and what is not.
And that's very important. When we go out to the shelters, when we've gone out and talked to different women in the shelters, and usually the women are from age as low as 18, until the oldest might have been in their 60s. And I'm saying that the conversations that we've shared, some of the women don't know what a healthy relationship is or unhealthy, or they don't recognize an unhealthy relationship. And part of that is from how they were brought up, what they were introduced to. I'm not one that like to always blame parents. That's not me. I don't do that because I don't say that it's the parent's fault all the time. Now, there are times that it is the parent's fault. However, sometimes the parent wasn't even the one that raised the child or whatever the case may be. But my point is that the child didn't get that part of that, didn't get that knowledge base when they were coming up. Maybe the parent didn't know how to teach them that, whatever the case may be. But that child didn't learn it. So when they became an adult, they had zero understanding of that. So they ended up in all these toxic relationships as well. So don't take it as, this is just some information. No, this is vital information. Go ahead, DJ.
Yes, and we could do a show about healthy relationships, what is healthy and what is not at a later date. But this is very important. And please listen. It's not just telling your girls. It's in the media. Articles have been written how important it is to share this information with boys. I think because, this is my opinion, in society, when domestic violence comes up, when it comes to a man, the first thing they want to say is the man's being an abuser. But there's females that are abusers. There are men that are victims, just like women are victims. So it goes both ways. But it seems like society doesn't take the time to nurture the boys. And they grow up to be men.
Yep, and
they don't nurture
and
them.
we just got some information. It's not like I didn't know, but I didn't realize the seriousness of it until we seen an email that we got, and the question was, are you raising a pimp, or did you raise a pimp? Is your son's a pimp? You know what I'm saying? That's how it went into, the research of finding out what is the statement. It was basically saying, did you raise your boys to be pimps? In so many words. And that it is very true. There's a lot of young men out there that are calling themselves pimping females. And so part of that has to do with how they were brought up, what they were exposed to coming up.
And being willing to teach them. This is how you treat a woman. And then you often hear, I hear a lot of how, but when it comes down to marriage or whatever, I hear often or have heard, when a man, am I saying this right? A man goes out with a woman. No, I think I'm doing it wrong. They're saying about how a man treats his mother is how he's going to treat his wife. Now, that depends on the situation. That depends on the relationship, but that's not always true. The man might treat his mom, like an angel, but he may treat his wife a whole nother situation. Or he may beat up on his mom and treat his wife a whole nother situation.
I think what they mean is that, like, the based on the relationship that they have with the mother, it determines how they're going to treat their woman.
Okay.
Not necessarily the same way, but it'll turn out being toxic because they don't have, because of how that relationship developed between the mother and the son. Then it causes them to have a breakdown in the relationship with the woman out, when they start having intimate relationships. So one day we have to go into that topic.
Yeah, and I think it goes vice versa as well. It's not just the other way around. It also affects daughters and fathers. If they don't have a good relationship, that turns into a whole other dynamic as far as domestic violence and the woman feeling good about herself, how her father treated her, if she respects herself, that turns into another situation. But that's a whole other show. Let's move on. Next one is talking to them about boundaries. Let your child know that no one has the right to touch them or make them feel uncomfortable, including family members. That's a whole other show. Including family members, teachers, coaches, or other authority figures. Also explain to your child that he or she doesn't have the right to touch another person's body if someone tells they should do so right away. That's another tool or a part of raising your children, whether it be male or female. Before I go on, do you have anything to say, Vicky?
No.
Okay. Next one is helping them find a reliable support system. In addition to a parent,